next guest has appeared in countless films and TV shows, including Goodfellas. Are you kidding me? The Sopranos, and on Broadway. Currently, she stars in TNT smash hit Rizzoli and Isles. She was recently named Woman of the Year by the New York City Police Athletic League and is the author of a memoir, On the Couch. And the new book, To the Fullest. She's being interviewed today by LA Times Mind and Body editor Mary MacVean. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Mary MacVean and Lorraine Bracco.
I made it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mary, where do you go? Here? Okay. Yes, they are. They're clapping for you, Mary. Don't you worry.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. This is going to be so fun. I feel so privileged to be sitting here with Lorraine Bracco, who is smart and funny and obviously gorgeous. She was nominated for an Oscar for her work in Goodfellas, and she treated a mentally agonized mobster, not monster, sorry. Maybe.
Close.
Tony Soprano as Dr. Melfi, and these days she's a family matriarch on the super popular series Rizzoli and Isles. But that's only part of the things she's done. Her accomplishments are enormous. She hit her 50s and, like so many of us, confronted challenges like aging parents, menopause, weight gain, depression, and just generally she didn't feel like she was the person she wanted to be. But unlike a lot of us, she didn't give in. She did something about it, and she decided, as her no-nonsense book says, to clean up her act. And now she's told us how we can do the same. She lost 35 pounds, she changed the way she eats, she faced down menopause, and she pays attention to exercise and her purpose in the world. And now she's sharing that all with us in a book called To the Fullest. She'll be signing books after this, so you can all get a copy and get her autograph. So thank you so much for being here today. And I'm going to ask some questions, and then we're going to open it up so you can ask questions. So just hang on to them if you've got some, and we'll get to everybody's. So, Lorraine, you had to contend with your parents dying 9 days apart.
Yes.
And you lost one of your dearest friends and co-stars, James Gandolfino. How did that confluence of events affect what happened to you?
Well, my parents were ill for about a year and a half, 2 years. And watching them suffer was, for me, really hard. I mean, when you love people and you know, even if it's your pet, it's really, really difficult. But they had all kinds of illnesses. He had water in his lungs that had to be extracted, and she had emphysema, and he had, I mean, it was a litany of diseases, of illnesses, that it was like every week, every month, something was falling apart. And when my dad died first and then my mom passed, and I swore when we buried them that I did not want to die unhealthy like that. I did not want to be, they didn't want to go to the hospital, they didn't want to go to the doctor. They were like, leave me alone. I'm not doing this anymore, just leave me alone. And here you are as a caretaker, as a mother, as a daughter, which I am. No, you have to go to the eye doctor, you have to go to this doctor, you have to go to the, and they were like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. So that was hard, and I said to myself, I didn't want to tell my kids, I'm not going to the doctor. Don't call the ambulance. Whatever you do,
Right.
Don't call the ambulance. Yes, but you're bleeding from the head. I think it's a good idea, you know. And you know, and then it's your parents, and you know, you don't want to disobey them because this
Right.
is
You're
what
the
we,
kid.
right? And you know, so there was many moments of, I will admit, many moments that were very funny, but also very tragic. So I swore after I buried them, that I was going to do everything to be healthy.
And was that it at that moment? That was your aha moment?
That was the aha moment. And of course, a year and a half later, Jimmy Gandolfini died. And
you had nagged him to do something.
Yes, and I was on a good path. And I remember seeing him and grabbing his belly. He's a big boy, he's 6'4", he was, 2-something, big boy. And I'd be like, I'd grab the belly and I'd go, you have to get rid of this, it's not good for you. And he would be like, yeah, feel it, he'd tighten everything up, feel it, it's all muscle. I went, yeah, liar. But, that was really a shock to me that, Jimmy is a decade younger than me. And to lose him like that in a minute, was shocking. And I really like stepped up my game and said, I am really gonna watch myself. And every time now I eat food that nourishes me instead of making me lazy and not giving myself nutrition.
You start your program with a 2-day fast and then a cleanse.
Yes.
There's some controversy around cleanses. Tell us why it worked for you, what you thought was good about it, and why you think that we should give it a shot.
Okay, I think anybody should be able to do almost anything for 2 weeks if it's going to better your health. I know there's all kinds of things. There's juice cleanses. There's all. This is a liver detox cleanse, to be specific. And basically, what it did, it's a very limited diet for 2 weeks. So when you start to introduce foods, we're very specific in what your intake should be. So I cut out refined sugar, gluten, dairy, and something else. Can't even remember. What else did I cut out? Anyway, I cut out those foods for those 2 weeks, and then little by little we start to introduce foods. And it's crazy because you have not such a great appetite or taste anymore for sugar, for pasta. And I learned, and it's in the book, I learned to substitute. I mean, I'm Italian, I know how to eat, okay? I lived in France for 10 years. I know how to eat and drink. So I learned to substitute things and all things that feed me instead of just give me empty calories.
You talk about how at a certain point you love to come home, get in bed with Twizzlers and a movie.
Yeah.
And that idea of food that feeds you as opposed to food that you eat and don't feel satisfied by, it's a different mechanism, right? There's different things being fed. You think it's going to comfort you, but
yes,
in fact...
but in the long run, it will make it, it'll just give me diabetes, basically. So I learned about things like that. I was a huge sugar addict. Everything I ate had sugar in it, disguised in different names, which is unbelievable. There's like 30, 40 different names for refined sugar. And so I learned how to read a label. And that was important. That really woke me up. I was really surprised at what we're really eating and what we're giving our children to eat, and what my parents ate. I mean, I look back, I'm like, oh my God, what are you eating? Right. No wonder why they fell apart. It was they had no, with what they were feeding themselves, there was no other path for them to take than to just fall apart.
So are you an avid label reader now when you're buying food?
Oh, sure.
And we should all be doing that, you think? We should all be looking at what's...
The thing is you could look at it, but you have to learn how to understand it, because it's very tricky and disguisable.
But there's a lot of information in here. There's a whole section on label reading. And in fact, there's a lot of stuff in here. You do a lot of lists and
Yes.
things that people can
It's a
take.
tiny encyclopedia almost.
Right. This picture on the cover is so vibrant and happy, and it's so it is the best possible advertisement for your program. But you also write in the book that women who hit their 50s often end up feeling and being invisible.
Yes.
Can you talk to us about it? Did that happen to you?
Yes.
And what was that like? And
Yeah, well, I was overweight, and I do feel that it's a society that looks at youth. I'm in a business. Hollywood looks at youth. They want to tell stories about young people, not old people. And meanwhile, it's really us old people you're going to learn something from. Thank you. Yes. Yes, I think we become invisible.
so how do we stop that? How do we get to not be invisible?
Well, I think you have to be in control and be self-aware. I think women are the smartest we've ever been. We are 51% house breadwinners. It's about time we have a president that's a woman. We birth you. We give you life. And I think that that often women are overlooked and not recognized for what we do. And we do a lot, in my opinion.
Yes.
So how to be invisible? Well, besides having a big mouth and a loud voice, I think it's taking charge, being in control, knowing who you are, understanding this culture, and I always find a sense of humor is never bad.
For sure. You have a young granddaughter now.
I do.
What is it that you hope she'll take from your journey into the fullest?
Well, the best part is that my daughter has already taken it, and she's, making all her food, and she's strong and healthy and beautiful, and so they're being aware of the foods that they eat, which I think is important. We forget we're a lot of people in this country, because I lived in France for 10 years, and I realized that there's so much more farm to table in France. It's a very small country. They're feeding, They're feeding Texas when we're feeding, all of the United States of America. So much easier. They don't have to have antibiotics and hormones in their meats and chickens. It's very quick to their table. So I think that's a big difference now in our country. And more and more farmers markets are popping up, and I think it's fantastic.
I wanted to talk about your diet for a minute. We read this statistic over and over again that more than 90% of people who lose weight gain it back. And you have lost weight and kept it off for years now. Then when that happens, we feel like we're the failure. We blew it because we did that.
I get it. And by the way, some days I blow it, okay? But I do get back up on the horse. I think because my vision was better health, not just losing weight. It wasn't the exterior, it was the interior that I knew had to change to make it right and feasible to me. So when I look at, I'm 60, okay? I got, another third to go? I want to be present. I want to be here. I want to be alive. I want to have fun. I want to dance. I don't feel that I want to be, in another couple of years, not alive. I wanna be healthy. So that was and I think that mindset is very different than just, I want to lose 10 pounds to get into a dress or to go to a wedding or, that kind of thing. Mine was an overall look of what I wanted the last part of my life to be.
And that you think makes the difference?
I do.
Uh-huh.
I do.
Do you meditate?
No.
But it sounds like a similar...
Do I cry? Yeah. No, I'm teasing.
But it sounds like a similar approach, this very contemplative way of thinking about your future.
Well, again, I don't have that much more to go. I mean, I've done most of it. Not always good, but I've done it. And I wanna enjoy this.
I want to ask you about gluten. It's a very controversial thing these days. And, certain people have celiac disease, which is a separate category. But what made you decide that gluten was something we should stop eating? And what does it do? What happened to you with it?
So
pasta, for goodness sake.
No, I know, I get it. But quinoa pasta, it works. Here's the thing. When I went on the cleanse, and one of the things it was really one of the things that I had to cut out in the limited 2-week period. By the way, with the cleanse, you're not really that hungry, which I was very surprised about. I thought I was going to be gnawing at anything around me. So that was very helpful. So it was one of the things that was cut out. The gluten, sugar, dairy, and again, something else I can't remember. And so I felt, because I was a huge pasta bread eater, that when I started to introduce the foods, I wanted to try to keep away from it and see what it would do to me. And I felt much lighter. I had more energy. And I think that's one of the big reasons why I've kind of, stayed away.
And so you are able to have quinoa pasta and feel like your Italian heritage is
absolutely
accounted for.
I mean, look, the truth of the matter is it's what you put on it. Do I put a tablespoon of Parmesan on it? Yes. Do I have olive oil and capers and tomato sauce? And I do. I eat well. I am not a little kid here.
But I think that's one of the fears, too, that people have, that, as you said, you can do whatever for 2 weeks.
Right.
Because you have an end. But when people look at the rest of their lives eating a new way, I think it seems a little intimidating to think, what? I can't ever have that again?
Look, I splurge. I eat my mother's, bake my mother's Christmas cookies. I do all those things. I try to, when I feel like I need to indulge in something, I try to do 3 or 4 bites of something. And I think that's enough, and I don't need to go any further.
I think science backs that up and says that if those bites are really what counts.
That's
those
right.
first bites. And after that, you don't really even remember it.
Right. So,
except when it lands.
Right. Except when you try to get rid of it. Which is hard to get rid of weight. I don't believe in losing weight 15 pounds in, 15 days. I don't believe in that. For me, it's a slow and steady process. It took me over a year to lose the 35 pounds. And I think that was why I kept it off. And because I changed my diet and I really pay attention. And I work out. I started to walk. I also don't believe you should go to the gym tomorrow, pay whatever it is to, get a trainer, and then you can't walk for a week. I don't understand that. I find that crazy. So I say slow and steady wins this race. It is not, there's no quick fix. There's no quick pill. I don't care what all the advertising dollars sell you. I personally don't believe that. I think it's a slow and steady process, and it's not just about losing weight, it's about gaining your health.
I'm going to ask one more question, and then we have some folks out here with microphones, so if any of you are interested in asking a question. Okay, so my last question is, be Dr. Melfi for a second.
Okay.
And respond to what Lorraine Bracco has been through. What do you think about what she's done?
Oh, resilient. I've been resilient. I'm hopeful and see a good future in front of me.
Awesome. That's perfect. Okay, do we have people?
Yeah, we got a question up
okay,
front.
Okay, great.
Hi, my name is Shakena.
Hi.
Hi. I work with local and national groups that promote organic foods and are also trying to fight for labeling and hopefully elimination of genetically engineered foods.
Yes.
And I'm curious if your label reading involves trying to eliminate GMOs or
Absolutely.
keep organics in your diet, and for what reason? Explain to people.
Absolutely. Well, here's the thing. When I did the liver detox, so what am I doing? I'm trying to get rid of all of the toxins that have built up in my body for the last 55 years that I never even paid attention to, and meanwhile, they're in everything. Toxins are in the cream I put on my face, whatever I wash my hair with, whatever we're cleaning our dishes, our clothes, everything. Toxins are everywhere. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, there's an incredible, it's like 600 different toxins we take in before we even leave our own houses. So it's kind of crazy. So with the liver detox and in trying to eliminate as much as I could, I didn't want to put, excuse my French, shit back. I didn't want to put it all back right away. I was like, okay, let's try to calm this down. Let's try to get a hold of these things. So the GMOs, antibiotics, hormones that we unfortunately, again, I go back to the farm to table thing. We have so many people to feed here that I think that's why our farmers and growers do these things. So after the detox, I didn't want to fill my body full of those things. So I started to pay attention. I learned how to read labels. And one of the things is that, the GMO is absolutely off the table for me. I don't go there. And I pay attention. I do. I love a farmer's market. It like turns me on now. Whoever thought?
Question here in the middle.
Hi.
Hi.
Obviously, you made a lot of changes to get healthy, but what was the hardest change that you had to make?
I would say going to Pilates. I truly hate to exercise. I lie in the book and say I like it, but I force myself. I really do. But I'm the worst one in my class. And I'm the first one 7 minutes into the class, and I yell at everybody, "Is it over yet? Can I go home?" But I do it. I do it. And I think it's incredible because once your body is strong, your mind is strong. You're more active. You have a lot more thoughts, and you're just quicker on your feet.
Another question here in the middle.
So would you agree also taking this out when you're eating out on the town?
Yeah.
You make the same type of choices at restaurants? Because you can't see the labels, but you're probably selective there. What types of
Can you
restaurants
talk louder?
Are you selective as to what type of restaurants you go to when you're out on the town?
Well, Burger King is not first on my list. Any of the fast foods is definitely, I'd rather go to a diner than a fast food, to tell you the truth. No, I know that all restaurants have a protein, veggies, and fruit. And I'm happy with that.
You have to ask sometimes, right? You have to speak up to the waiter and say,
Well, here's the thing. I learned also never go to a restaurant starving. I know that sounds crazy, right? But the truth of the matter is if you go to the restaurant starving, you're going to go sit down at the table, and who's the first person to come over and greet you? It's a bowl of bread. No. So sometimes I'll have a little snack of something, almond butter on a rice cake or a piece of fruit or something to tide me over and not dig into that bread bowl. And I've turned around to many incredible chefs in restaurants. Yeah, can you get that away? Can you give that to somebody else? So I'll even have it immediately removed from the table. I'm cautious. I pay attention. I know I know by now what's going to feed my life, feed my energy, and not take away. You learn quickly, by the way, if you're going to be sluggish the next day.
I think we have there we go.
Hello.
Hi.
I am a vegetarian, and it's increasingly difficult to find something to eat when we go to a family party because of the ethnic food. What do you suggest, or how have you encountered this in your life when you're at a party and you're eating just food? You have relatives and aunts and everyone want you to eat a lot of cheese and
Oh,
meat.
I know, that cheese and wine and bread. Oh. Bring your own. Bring what you eat. They're going to be upset. You're going to throw it and make it warm. I mean, if it's your family and friends, they love you. They want you to be happy. They're inviting you over. Bring your own.
You do talk, though, about people not always being happy for you.
Yes, I've seen that a lot. In the book, I have a bunch of women who I asked to do the cleanse and write about it. And it was really an interesting lesson. I learned so much from them. And one of the women wrote to me on Facebook and said, I have a coworker that every time I try to get healthy, she's bringing in baked goods, cookies and cakes, and shoving it in front of me going, come on, just have a little bit. Or when we go out to work, we'll go out for a drink afterwards, and I'll have a water with some lemon and lime, and she's like, "Oh, please, just have a drink already." And it was like so funny, and I said, "Isn't that funny? She's undermining you, where you're trying to do something incredible for yourself." So I said, "Well, maybe it's her problem, not yours." So if you start to look at that in a different way, instead of caving into her bad behavior and not supporting you, then, projection. That's Dr. Melfi.
Question in the center.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi. My question is, you mentioned feeling invisible at times, and
Yes.
my wife and a number of our friends have expressed the same feeling, and I wonder if you have any mental tricks I can pass on for dealing with that.
It's a really great question. I'm trying to think. I think you have to be present. I think it's important that you know who you are and that you are all of you at any time of the day. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I don't give in to other people's bullshit. I just don't. I know Hollywood wants me to be, 21 and an ingenue, but I'm not. I'm 60 and I'm a grandmother, and they keep hiring me. So I'm very happy about that. But that's, I think, because I'm available to me. I speak my mind. I'm engaging. I engage people.
You're talented.
I'm talented. That's very nice of you, Mary. Thank you. Yes, I know it's crazy, invisible. It's a fine line of many, many issues, I think. I don't have a clue for a specific way to handle it.
Question in the middle.
Hi. I was wondering if you find it harder or easier to eat healthy when you're working on set?
It's hard, because they have the craft service table, and I graze, I look, no, not that, nope. Oh, almond butter and a rice cake for me. The only thing I can really say is that here in LA, our caterers on the set of Rizzoli are really health conscious. So there's always fruit, there's always veggies. I love the fact that they have quinoa with blueberries in the morning. So I'm thrilled to have that. And some scrambled eggs. I mean, that's kind of good. But yes, traveling, very difficult. I pick my airline. I go Virgin American because the food on Virgin American goes with my healthy lifestyle. How's that?
Makes sense. Makes life easier.
It just does. I get to push those buttons, and I have a gluten-free. I do. It's great. I love it. But I really, and it's been years. It's not, didn't happen overnight that I've learned these things. It's been, asking. What's this? What's that? Can I eat this?
Do you think it takes mental preparation so that if you're going to be on set with a big spread of food, you can't just show up and then figure it out? You have to know in your head what's good for you, what you want to eat, so that you don't start just taking things.
Right. Well, you have to get the foods that nourish your body. I don't want to eat foods that are going to diminish my health, my well-being, my energy. I just don't want that. I was very willing to give that shit up. How's that, Mary?
I think that's perfect.
Okay.
Question to your right.
I love you in Medicine Man.
My dad's favorite movie.
So raw food versus cooked food. Discuss.
You know what? You'd have to ask Donna Karen about the raw food thing. I think she's got a book coming out too soon. I'm sure you get more nutritional value out of something that's raw than cooked. There's no doubt in my mind about that. That's all I can really say about it. But she knows all about that.
All right, I think that's. Well, let me just ask a real question. You were talking backstage.
What?
I have the microphone. But you were talking backstage about getting back up on the horse after you do something.
Right.
After you screw up, and instead of a cigarette smoker who smokes another cigarette after he quit and smoked the whole pack, it's important to get back up on the horse. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, it's true. I mean, I do go off the grid. I'm only human. I'm not human about eating. But I do. I say, tomorrow, I'm back. The next day, whatever it is, sometimes it's 2 or 3 days. I've been on this book tour, and I can honestly say I've been on planes and trains and automobiles. It's not been easy. But I do have a purse full of snacks, healthy snacks. And but often, we're on the road, we're running around, and then I turn around and I say, that's it. I'm done. I'm not having another BLT. But you know, yeah, I get back on that track. And listen, 3-4 years to keep weight off is, you know, I stop myself.
All right, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Mary MacVean and Lorraine Bracco.